you can do the same thing. You can quit your job like I did, figure it out, eat rice and beans, or in Argentina, our version of rice and beans is fideos con manteca, and then you can figure it out. Live in like a shitty place, and figure it out, and you can do this for yourself, You can enjoy this not only in vacations. You can change your life. It doesn't matter what you're quitting, I quit a bunch of things. I'm super happy. I'm way happier than before.
Do you ever wish you could quit your job and pursue your dreams? Maybe that lingering business idea that's been in the back of your head? This isn't another series about million-dollar ideas. Bizpirations features stories of everyday people just like you, people just like me, but the difference is they chose to take a chance. 99% of people will stay exactly where they are. These are the 1%, the other 1% that chose to be different. Let's dive in. Pablo, thank you for having us here at the Costa Rica Coral Restoration Project. Before we get into your journey and transformation from tour operator to conservationist, what's a relevant story that we need to know?
Yes, something really important is that I always work with something related to the water, nature, and conservation. My background is more than 20 years being an instructor. But before that, I used to work in diving too, like dive master, and the drill, but always related with something with nature, always in a place where people wanted to go and visit, where documentaries are filmed and things like that. I always been attracted by nature and conservation. That's plain why it wasn't that difficult to make the transition between, tourism and conservation.
And where are you from?
I'm from Argentina, but when I was in my 20s, I had the chance to move to Patagonia, and then going to the university, studying biology, and then working at the same time in diving. That's what, it made me to have the stronger feelings even for the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And growing up, do you remember, were you always out in nature as a child? Is there anything in particular that comes to mind when going traveling or in nature as a kid that you really feel strongly sets you down this journey?
Yes, my grandfather, he was born in the countryside in Argentina, and then where we were living, it was kind of like something in the middle, between country and city. It was a small city, that kind of cities that you play in the streets, that you get in your bike and you can go to the river and the forest and go fishing and doing all these kind of activities. And then going camping with my grandfather was something that we used to do all the time, like weeks into the farms, and then going fishing and all these kind of activities in nature. As I always wanted to live kind of in the middle of nothing, like away from cities and everything. That was from a younger age. Mm-hmm. And that's why we live where we live now, in the mountains, in a big farm, with no neighbors and everything, because even that is a long trip to get back to the lab and work, is all about peace of mind and happiness for us.
And what were some of the first jobs you had as a kid when you were growing up?
Yeah, one of my first jobs, the ones that, make me understand how the grown-up world works, was working actually with my grandfather. I used to help him in his shop. It started really early in the morning, and it was like nothing related with nature or anything, but it was my grandfather was already pensionado, like retired. Mm-hmm. And he had this extra job because, usually the money is not enough in Argentina. And And then he used to make the screws for the electrical outlets, because we basically make the white plastic thing that it goes on top of the screw. I don't know if you remember the ones that you can screw with your fingers. They were a really old thing. And he had a machine in his workshop, and then we used to go at 4 in the morning and make like thousands of screws there. It was pretty funny because, you know, I always have a really good relationship with my grandpa. And then we worked together. That made me realize that time is important for me and for other people, and the importance of making your own money, you know, from a young age. Is that make me kind of the person that I am now, like being on a schedule and organized and all that kind of things. And then the nature part was more in the free time and spending time with friends and family going. We were pretty poor when we were kids, so vacation for us were camping, you know, like meaning on the beach or in other locations. It's always like a better connection with nature.
So it sounds like your grandfather was pretty inspirational and influential for you growing up.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they live next to us. We were neighbors. We share one of the walls of the house. We share them with them. It's not only my grandfather, my grandmother too. No, we were all close family. But yeah, I can say that he was my best friend. Yeah.
Wow. And so after you worked with him, when did you first realize you had a passion for the water?
Always. I don't have a recollection of learning how to swim. I swim. You know, that's how we started it. Yes, was going to this when my dad and my grandfather were working. They were from Goodyear, the tire company, and they have like this huge recreational club, and they have with a lot of swimming pools and everything. We were going every weekend to the swimming pool on the summer. And that's how I learned to swim and spend a long time in the water. But again, I've been going to those, that recreational center from, baby. Because I don't remember me or someone teaching me how to swim. Of course it happens, but it was so young that I don't remember it. And I always have this appreciation for the water. But that's where I always take vacations into the ocean. That's how I started surfing. That's once I have money enough that, again, I didn't pay for it, but I started working in diving, paying for my courses. So I start cleaning and washing wetsuits full of pee to pay for my career. And that's when I decided I'm never going to do anything else that is not related with the ocean. Like, meaning, and from that day in my 20s, my only job was working in boats and diving and snorkeling and everything related. Even that I have to sleep in the floor, on couch from friends. But that's my goal, and that's why I was so set in not moving to something else. Because you know how it is. You start doing something that gives you a little bit more money, and then you tend to forget about what you make you happy, and then you go towards the money. And that's something that I was really clear from the beginning that I didn't want to do. I'd rather to be super poor or don't have enough money, but I always wanted to feel happy in what I do day to day.
What do you think kept you on your track? Like you're saying, it's easy to pay you more, or a shiny object over here. What do you think really kept you centered and focused on the road you wanted to go down?
My family, I saw the struggle, of giving us all the things that we need. And I knew that part of the things that they have to do, they were not make them happy. And I didn't want to go through that, basically.
And so let's dive into, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Let's dive into, how did you end up in Patagonia? What was that opportunity?
I was trying different careers during my life, and Argentina have a free education, and it's easy to try to find what you really wanted to do. That's a great opportunity that I know everyone has. I try politics, I try different kind of tourism, like in hotels and that kind of career, and a bunch of other things. And until I have a really good opportunity, one of my family members offered me to help me out for the first year to go to Patagonia and to pursue the career that I always wanted. That was biology, marine biology. I took it. I went to Patagonia with only one suitcase and money for rent for a year. I spent almost 6 years there, working and going to university and everything. Until I met Costa Rican, that now is my wife, and that made me change everything. I always wanted to come to Costa Rica, being into biology and conservation and diving. This is like a paradise for that. As I always have it in my mind until I hear that I hear a rumor from a guy who worked in a hotel that it was Costa Rican staying in one of the hostels around the area. We were friends for a long time. My shop was going from hotel to hostels all around this. This is a really small town, no? We're talking about Puerto Madryn in Chubut. And then he knew that I always wanted to go to Costa Rica. And so he heard that it was a Costa Rican around, and he texted me, and say, hey, there's a Costa Rican staying in that hostel or whatever. And it sounds creepy, but it's not creepy. We went to the hostel, like with the excuse to talk about diving and everything, conservation. And then it wasn't there. I asked the people around, and they told me that they went to a bar. And then we went to the bar, and there was the only Costa Rican person that I met in my life sitting in a table, already talking to another guy. And I went to the table and sat anyway. And it was, you can imagine the situation where talking like this, and I sat in the same table and introduced myself. And we started talking first, the three of us, and then the guy realized that, in some point that we have a connection, and then he left the table. And that's how we started. Then we started dating. We moved together for a few months, and then when she finished the scholarship that she have over there, like a semester of abroad, I followed her to Costa Rica. Like 19 years ago. Yeah, that's crazy, huh? Yeah.
What did you know instantly, like when you walked in and you saw Laura, you're like, I'm marrying this woman? Or did you say, this is how I'm going to Costa Rica?
Yeah. I mean, it was not right away. I needed to talk to her first.
Yeah.
But it was pretty fast. Yeah. Like 2 days into the relationship and the conversation, that I knew that it was forever. Yeah.
And when did you get married?
Sorry?
When did you get married?
When?
Yeah.
6 months into living in Costa Rica. Yes, we figured it out that, the first time when we moved, we used to live in San Jose. I was kind of miserable. I lived all my entire life close to the ocean, and working with something related to that. And during those 6 months, Laura was the one working. I was the one staying in the house while I was training and doing my IDC. But, it's not the same, studying and doing something related with diving that actually doing it. We realized that the best option for me is to get the papers right away and then start looking for something that is going to make us happy both, and then as soon as I finished my IDC, we got married, we applied for the residency, the permanent residency, and then they say, worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, doesn't work. But we were pretty sure that, that was something that we really wanted. And then as soon as I had my papers, like 1 month later, I found a job in Drake Bay for a small hotel working on Canyon Island. And since I started working over there, I always kept going back to the island for one reason or another. I went from Drake Bay, like almost 3 years, then Dominical, Ubita, Ojochal, and now again back here in the mountains, always going back to the island, Marino Ballena National Park.
Where did you do your IDC?
Guanacaste. I was the first student for the first Costa Rican instructor of instructors. It was really cool.
With Martin or who?
It was, sorry?
Was it with Martin up there or who?
No, it was a Costa Rican called, what is his name? Diego Mejillas. Now he's a photographer.
Okay.
Diego Mejillas, that was the first. Yeah, I think so. It was Diego for sure.
Yeah.
And it was super nice because he was his first IDC. And then he invited me to stay at his house, even though we didn't know each other, to save money. He knew the situation. He had an inflated mattress in his living room. And I spent like a week over there doing the IDC with other two candidates. But it was pretty cool, because he, being his first IDC, you know how it is. When you leave your instructor, it's the same. Your first course is when you pull everything in because, you don't want it to fail. You want it to be the first and the best one. It was the same for me. It was unforgettable. It was pretty sweet. We still, once in a while, we see each other, but he's now more into photography and the water photography and everything. Yeah, pretty sweet.
And were you diving before you went to Patagonia, or was that the first time you dove was in Patagonia?
The first time that I dove was in Patagonia.
And
yes.
Do you remember your first open water dive?
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course.
Take me there.
Yeah, it was, once we finished the swimming pool, the really cool thing is my instructor, that it wasn't only one. At the end, we finished with the other one. There were two partners. They were not only PADI instructors. They were professional divers, commercial divers for a long time, for more than 30 years. They have a lot of experience, and they took their knowledge and they used it and complemented what PADI teach. This was super fun and more complex than what usually any student goes through it. And Patagonia is really, really cold water. That is a lot of other factors when you teach and when you learn diving. And that was really fun and more challenging, As basically once we finished the confined waters, we moved to the Golfo Nuevo. That's a big gulf in Puerto Madryn. Super shallow water, crystal clear water, but no currents or anything, but also nothing. Like bare bottom, like everywhere to see. And that was my first dive. We basically walk into the ocean with the gear, and we dove for like an hour in freezing cold waters, seeing nothing, you know? But you know how it is, you know, it was awesome and beautiful. And you still see things, you know? I remember seeing shark eggs, you know, that's something that not a lot of people can see. I saw that in my first dive. That's a really common area to see in some times of the years. I saw different macroalgae that place is famous for. You know, we have kelp forests and everything over there. It was bare bottom, nothing, but still you find really interesting things to do, you know? Yeah, that was basically nothing, but you still can forget about it.
Yeah.
You know? That's diving.
Yeah. So we'll fast forward. So now you're working as an instructor. What was the next kind of big step you took after you've been working as an instructor, and what was the time frame like?
The biggest step, the biggest transition was to be working as an instructor to going and open my own diving company. That was the biggest and the first big transition that we did. You know, we did it as a couple with my wife. This is scary, you know, of course, but then it gave me the chance to do the things the way that I wanted to do it forever, you know, like, and that's why in my 20 years working in diving, I think it's going to be 20 years of a diving instructor pretty soon. I never had an accident. You know, I never have any incident that I have to report or nothing serious because I finally was able to do things the way that I wanted to do. You know, like extra careful, crazy organized, perfectly maintained and new gear. And I'm crazy that way. That's why you're going to see how everything works in the laboratory, because my brain works that way, no? Mm. And that's why I apply all my knowledge and all the things that I learned on running a dive shop, being the guy, being in the boat every single time that we have people diving, make me to appreciate what we have in the ocean, because we are basically making money for it, and basically learning all the things, all the tricks that you need to apply for these kind of projects, you know?
And what's it like, take me to the day that you decided to open your dive shop. Did something happen that pushed you in that direction, or had this been something you've been thinking about for a long time?
Yes, bueno, that's what it is basically working for a dive shop, not being able to do the things the way that I wanted, that pushed me to kind of go into the direction of, you know, if no one's going to do it the proper way, in my point of view, is I going to have to do it, you know, because I don't want it to be related to something that is, it doesn't work the way that it's supposed to be working, no? And good luck, you know? Another shop was being formed in the area. I was being contacted by this dive shop to see if it was interested in kind of working for them. And this was an older couple, retired in the 70s. They opened a dive shop. They realized how difficult it is more in this area, and then offering us the opportunity of buying the dive shop not only with a little bit of money, but with the promise of paying something else in the future. You know, you never have these kind of opportunities. That's what I say, really lucky. Is they basically gave us a dive shop already losing money, but working, and the opportunity of paying in the future. And we have to say yes, no, even that it was scary and everything. And then we transform, we change everything. We start doing it the way that I like to do things. And then in the next 6 months, we started making money. And then, yeah, of course, working really, really hard. But that's when we realized that we took the right decision.
Is Laura an instructor? Was she already an instructor?
No. She's a diver.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the conversation like when you went to her and had this opportunity to present about starting the dive shop? Was she already working somewhere else? Was she working in diving?
She was working for the same dive shop that I was working. She was working on administrating it, like the secretary, something like that, in the desk. We knew what it takes. We have the experience. It wasn't the only one dive shop that we worked together. We work in kind of a similar situation in Greece, in Europe. She was working in the desk, and I was one of the instructors over there. We already have the experience of running a dive shop, you know. It wasn't our money, but it was the same opportunity. It wasn't that difficult, you know. We saw those kind of opportunities, they knock at your door only once, you know. Yeah. It wasn't a difficult decision.
So you guys take over the dive shop, and how long have you had the dive shop? Do you still have the dive shop? What was the story with that?
We had it for like a little bit more than 10 years. Yeah. No, we closed the dive shop during the pandemic. Yeah, that's one of the casualties of, you know, the pandemic. We work with tourism. You know, the tourism was dead during that time of the year. But we were really lucky because before the pandemic is when we started with the project. No, as we started like a couple of months before that, and that when the pandemic was right in the more difficult part, it wasn't that difficult to make the decision. Okay, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm getting older. I have pains everywhere. I already paying the consequences of, you know, too much nitrogen and everything. Let's see, you know, what this next stage is for us. And that's when we decided to close the dive shop, use all the resources and everything that we had, gear, boat, all the things, and let's apply it to the next stage, that it was conservation, no? And that's how this project started gaining more force.
What was the moment when you decided you wanted to get into conservation? Was there a specific event that happened? Take me to the day when you decided that you want to do conservation.
I think that I always been doing conservation. We run the dive shop. I mean, I don't say that we were the only ones, but we run the dive shop differently. We never took more than 5 to 6 divers at the same time. We kept like a small boat because it was more for me to go diving with people and show them why I fell in love of the profession, and showing all the beautiful things that we have in Costa Rica that actually working, you know? Mm-hmm. Because I always make the tour more as a learning process for people about conservation, the things that we have, the things that we're losing, the things that we need to change for, be able to keep enjoying, what we're doing. Because I think I always been doing a little bit of conservation and using, the excuse for making money, That's why we never decided to hire more people and then grow. We always kept it like a boutique kind of dive shop because I felt that I don't know if I was capable of giving that control to someone else. I didn't want to run a dive shop from my house. I wanted to run a dive shop from the boat. But then, like more specific, that I realized that I wanted to only do conservation was how happy I started feeling back again when I was diving, doing basically the same that you do for money, but doing it with people that were more focused in the conservation part. Like the thing that comes to my head is the times that we took in the beginning when we were on the process. We took people to show them the beginnings of the things that we were trying to achieve, rangers or people that wanted to get involved in the research part, and how happy I was again. Like it came back to like my first dive, it's not like you see a lot of life or things because you're basically diving in a place where all the coral is dead, but smiling again, not during the dive, because it's easy to smile even if you're working during your smile, but smiling again on the process of organizing it, being on the boat, and dealing with people. They don't have a lot of, idea how, do things under the water, but dealing with all things in a different context. And then you pull that smile back again, like it was like 20 years ago, And that's what I say, this is going to work.
So what is the Costa Rica Coral Restoration project?
Costa Rica Coral Restoration is like a normal restoration project, but we add this part that you see here. We add the laboratory part because we found in all the rest of the projects around the world that is a really big part missing, and it's the education part. I don't say that other projects are not doing education, or with the conservation that they're doing, is they are not doing it the way that I like to learn things, and it's touching and seeing and participating, and that's basically how my brain learns new things. I suck out of reading books and things like that. I'm more like a more hands-on project learn kind of schools or things like that, and that's what was missing, And then the first time that we used the laboratory, we used them with all the administration part of the national park and SINAC. And then we saw the interaction of people that are already been working in conservation for the entire life. And we present like something different, like a big smile again, taking pictures with the corals that we frag with them, like really getting into the conservation again, because, people get tired once you have a long career. You stop finding the things that you enjoy it a little bit of, more difficult to enjoy it again. And I saw that again in their faces, and that's how we started applying that to the schools, other organizations, the public in general, make them to participate in the process of restoration, not only learning about it, being part of it. we have corals with names. Of course, they have the identification number for the research, but they have a name too because it's being made by a school. It's made by the Buruca tribe. We have corals with names from schools, and here in Ojochal or in Bahia, we have corals made by the Buruca tribes in the area, and we have still corals they've made by pod rangers. They come, every time they come and visit the laboratory, they take a picture with the coral. The ones that are already on the reef, they always ask about it, if they're still healthy and everything. It's a different kind of feeling, when you get at that level with an animal, I find it that Costa Rica Coral Restoration, it focus on the ocean part, like all the rest of the organizations, but we focus in the interaction with people and coral, the community and the coral reefs. That we have the chance to teach them about the impact that the coral has in their day-to-day life. What happens if we lose the coral to their shops, what happens to tourism if the coral goes away, and all kind of details that usually people don't want to hear.
And what does it take to get started? What were the first steps you took to get this project going?
Here in Costa Rica, all these kind of projects, they need to start with research. You have to apply for a research permit with SINAC, basically explaining what you wanted to investigate, achieve, and then once you get the approval, you can start working in your research first, no? If you wanted to work with this kind of conservation, with restoration, is basically you need a research and a permit for the manipulation of the coral. Yeah, that's the first step into a restoration project. Then is a lot of other steps that you had to get before this, like sponsorships, money, and getting the people with the knowledge.
And what are some milestones that you've hit with the project, and what were the steps that it took to get there?
Yes, I think was when we started it, we didn't have any clue of how something of this magnitude needs to start. Basically, I think the best milestone was finding the right person. It happens twice. That's why we were really lucky. The first is finding a coral expert in the hobby part of the things, that he knew a lot about coral. I was teaching some local entrepreneurs diving, and then talking about coral, fish, and everything. We realized that how the coral was struggling, and I was complaining about wasn't able to do much about it. And this coral expert, his name is Paul, he told me that it wasn't that difficult to grow coral, that why we didn't give it a try, like those were his words. And at first I took it like, another crazy gringo who wants to help, and then, okay, let's keep training. And then he keeps saying it and to reach a point and say, okay, maybe he really wants to do something about it. Because we saw it, we went for lunch, remember, and say, hey, how much money we need, and you know how much work we need to put into this to do something like that. And he said, yes, I know. I have tanks in my house. I know how much effort it takes to do these kind of projects. Let's do it. I'm into it. And that's how the first time they say, okay, yeah, this is a lucky thing. The universe is saying something. And then when we start doing something and working on it and designing things, we talk with different people in national parks. Everyone's saying, oh yeah, but it's really difficult. These are the things, that you're gonna have to go through, whatever, until we find another really nice guy called Macis, Christian Macis. He was the administrator in the park during that period of time. And he told us, yeah, let's do it. Let's find the right persons, and let's see what we can achieve. And then he put us in contact with Reserva Playa Tortuga, Carlos from Inociana, and then other people that are already working in conservation. And then we decided to give it a try. And then we started it differently. Instead of starting in the ocean, we started in the laboratory right away, because we knew that there was already a lot of other organizations doing that in the ocean. Is we wanted to do something different, I always been working. I always work in Marino Ballena National Park, and I always felt weird explaining to tourists about that. Yes, it's a marine park, but it's nothing marine related. The only thing that you can do marine related in the park is snorkeling and going whale watching. Mm-hmm. When you travel and you see marine parks or things like that, you see aquariums, you see fish, you see conservation, you see a bunch of other things that we didn't have here. And I always wanted to, do something that we involve at the national park. And then, for example, all this, it belongs to the national park. We did this laboratory and we donated to the national park because we are inside of the national park. We wanted the national park to achieve that thing that when you talk about a marine park, that's what people think about it, And then that's something that we knew from the beginning, that it has to be with a partnership between the national park and a private organization, It's a lot of red tape in Costa Rica. Foreigners know about it now. They're not used to deal with, but we choose to get involved with the national park. Not only that, to do all this inside of the national park, knowing all the red tape that we're gonna have to cross for that specific reason. We can't do it alone, If we don't involve the community, if we don't involve the government, if we don't involve the private sector, we can't. Everyone has something that we need for a project like this. And we were using every single part of it. The community for the education purposes and other things, the national park for the knowledge and the experience navigating all this red tape, and the private one for, of course, the money and the experience running businesses, because at the end of the day, this is a business. If we don't make money for the project, we can't run this. You have to take it as a private thing, Yeah.
So was where we are now, is this the setup you had for your first laboratory, or what was your first laboratory like?
This is the setup for the first one. The difference is we only have one tank.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so after you had your first tank, what led you to be able to get your second tank and third tank and 1, 2, 5 tanks, 6 tanks?
Yeah, the second tank, a big part of it was Laboratorios Echandi, a friend of ours that runs one of the biggest laboratory chain in Costa Rica. He helped out. He came, saw the project, and said, I wanted to help get involved, and he helped us with money for the second setup, the second tank. And the rest of the tanks was Costa Rica por Siempre. There was money from Costa Rica por Siempre for Cambio Climático that we received through Asana. Asana helped us out to get this small grant for fighting against climate change. And it was like an effort between Asana, SINAC, Costa Rica por Siempre, and Agatov. It was the ente that administrated the money. And with that, we got that last push to get all the rest of the systems and the tanks.
And when was that?
That was last year.
Okay. And what is the new milestone that you're working towards, and what steps are you taking to get there?
The next step is sexual reproduction for the lab, and extending the fragmentation tanks, but no for a coral bank that we have here. Is more for fragments. There's a different setup, shallower tanks, like way more longer tanks that is basically for production, like the ones they use for commercial purposes in the coral industry. But this case is 100% for restoration purposes, because we wanted to achieve something that never been achieved before in Costa Rica, that is sexual reproduction in a controlled environment, in a laboratory, to start doing a different type of restoration, like they're doing in different parts of the world, and increase the production of super coral that we are introducing into the reef. And something that we wanted to do is that we already started it. I don't know if you saw another container that we have in the back that's gonna become rooms for volunteers. It wants to start bringing more volunteers, not only to the project, to the national park, to volunteer for the national park, the project, and different other projects that we have here. We have Reserva Playa Tortuga is doing turtle eggs, nesting and everything. We have the restoration project. We're working with an hotel for a project of reforestation in the national park. We wanted to slowly transform Marino Ballena National Park into like a place where people say, okay, I wanted to do something about conservation. Let's go to Marino Ballena National Park. I wanted to learn about restoration. Let's go to Marino National Park, where schools in the entire country have a destination for learning about these things. Using the installation that we have for running their own research and their own investigations, their own projects through us and through the national park. That's the big thing, the next really big thing.
And what are some failures that you've had throughout this process, and how did you overcome them?
The biggest one was we started a couple of months before the pandemic, and that make us slow down we lost like at least a year and a half, because I know a lot of people know, but then even when the rest of the national parks open, this one, it didn't. Because Marino Ballena National Park is a really, really long national park. It have different entrances. They reopened the most populars in the beginning, but they didn't have the resources to accommodate the new regulations for reopening the next ones. It took a longer time to start let us work again in the park. And the economical things, because the people were helping out with money and everything for the project, didn't want to spend a lot of money in conservation without knowing, the future of their companies, that slowed down the incomes that we have for the laboratory and all that. And the other one, there was a big one, and we're still, are dealing with some of those losses, is once we were running, before we add all the new tanks, at the end of the first year of the research, we were almost celebrating that we have 100% success with the coral that we were growing in the laboratory. Every single fragment of coral was thriving. And then we have a big storm. We lost power for 27 hours in the laboratory in the national park. Then they fix it. We saw the coral really struggling, super stressed. Less than a week later, another tree fell, and we lost the power for 20 hours. And we didn't have the money or a generator at the time. And then it was too much for the corals on the research. And then we lost like an 80% of the small fragments that we have. Because that was really bad and set us up like a year, because we didn't have the fragments that we wanted to transplant for the next stage of the research. We lost an entire year of growing coral in the lab. As we stopped the project until we were able to raise money for a generator. I don't know if you saw that during the filming of that. Power loss here is a big issue. That's why another big step in the project is solar, to be independent from the grid, as we don't have to worry about these power outages. That's cost us a lot of money. If we have surge protection everywhere and everything, but still, there are sensitive gear that we have here, and everything is expensive. We need to be careful with that.
And I mean, when you came in here and saw that 80% of your fragments had died, well, what was that like?
It was sad, It's your babies, you cut them, you go diving, you find them. I don't know if I told you this before, but the corals that we use in the laboratory are not corals that we extract from the colonies. It's corals that we found naturally break down from the main colonies of corals. We call them opportunity corals. It's because, for the action of waves, climate, or fish, sharks, or whatever, they break these pieces of coral, they land in the sun, and they slowly die. They get recycled into sand and other things for the reef, from the beach and everything. But if we find them before they die, we bring it to the laboratory, and we nurse them back to health, and then we use them for the project. It's basically, we went diving. We found this piece of coral that were dying. We bring it to the laboratory. We nature back. Once they were healthy, we cut them, We frag them into smaller pieces. They start growing. You see signs of growth. You take them every month and you measure it. You take pictures, and then they die. You know, it's like your pets. You know.
Yeah.
It was really sad.
Did you consider throwing in the towel when that happened?
No. I never quit. I never quit before, and I don't think I'm able to quit things like that. I mean, we use our own money when we had any. We volunteer the shop for this shop. No one is paying us anything. We basically work in our own shops to survive. We leave our families. We leave I leave my dog for doing these things. And we do it because we wanted to do it. We don't do it because we have to. We feel that we have to. Even that we feel that we have to, you know, because the national park, the coral here is dying. I don't think I'm capable of quitting. You know, we're too deep into the project, and to be honest, even that you deal with failure, we still enjoy it. You know, my wife and I, my partners, they still enjoy it. Even sometimes you wanted to kick everything. That doesn't mean that is a reason enough to quit. You know, we can't. If we quit, we lose the coral that we have here.
And conservation, nonprofits, sounds nice, makes you feel good, but there's real sacrifices that are involved with this. Can you dive into some of those and what that's like?
Yes. Everything in Costa Rica is a struggle, you know. I'm from a Latin American country, and I can relate, you know, the bureaucracy and a lot of other things, you know, the Latin American countries has is a struggle. You know, you have to learn and have patience, no? Non-profits and organizations like this, they have a big rate of failure, and it's basically because it's difficult to raise money, no? It's difficult to make people understand the consequences of not doing anything. And more a project like this that is difficult to show them what's happening, because not all of them have the chance to go diving or to go snorkeling, you know, because it's expensive a hobby. That's why we decided to take all this out of the water, to have another tool to do that. And but organizations in Costa Rica are difficult from the beginning, to setting the organization up, to the bureaucracy of running it, the stages that you have to go through for registration and management. That's painful, you know.
And what about like personal sacrifices? I mean, can you just go take a holiday for a week?
Now I feel I can, but now I feel I can because we found like a awesome volunteer that he have experience running coral tanks like this. It comes from the money business making of, you know, coal in United States. But now I feel like I can relax a little bit more. We all feel that we can relax a little bit more. But before that, it was really difficult. That's why we have cameras, and we try to do everything automatic, because it's a lot of work. And then more when you have to balance it with your own work, you know? We don't do this for a living. We administrate rental houses for a living, you know? Because we have to sacrifice a lot of other things to be able to do this, like every time that we have schools, organizations, or visits that are not programmed, like people who wants to, from administrators from another national parks, or because we're inside of a national park, sometimes say, hey, we are here with the administrator of, this national park, can you do a visit, things like that. You have to leave everything behind and accommodate, the administration part of the SINAC, because they are partners on this event. But still, it's still not enough to quit or not enough to stop enjoying it, I think it's been a roller coaster. Hopefully we are in the part that we are chilling, relaxing, and now the big step is fundraising,
And, what advice do you have to someone who is thinking about getting into conservation or a nonprofit type of business?
The best thing that I can recommend is first get involved with one, see what it's like, be part of one or several ones, volunteer, and learn slowly, how everything works. And then when you know what you're getting into it, that's the time to do it, because sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging than what it looks. And it's better to take your time and analyze, and then give it a try and fail, and then never wanted to try it again. That's the best piece of advice. That's why when someone asks me about the business part of the diving or the teaching, is first go volunteer, work for a dive shop, see what is behind the scene. Don't do your open water course and open a dive shop, because you can.
Yeah, you could.
But it's not ideal.
And do you have anything that you would say to yourself looking back when you first walked into this lab day one where you are sitting now? What would you say to yourself then?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I try to don't regret things or the way that I do things. I look as mistakes is the best opportunity to grow and to face new challenges in a different way. But probably I will say more money before in the beginning, because that's kind of like the biggest issue. I say, okay, if I have to start over, I'm gonna keep a little bit more money to when I have to deal with problems. At least I don't have to run around, trying to find those funds for fixing problems, like the one that we were talking about, the generator. We knew that we needed it, but we didn't have the money. We pushed them, and that's something that I regret, but I took it as a learning experience, and, it's not going to happen again.
Yeah. And what is your version of success for your personal self?
For my personal or for the lab?
For you.
For me, I'm a really simple guy. I don't need much. I don't want much. I'm happy with the things that I have. Things that they don't make me happy, that are extras. I learned to live with not a lot of money, I know that I have a happy life with the amount of things and money that I have. I don't fight for getting more stuff for me. As my advice to people too is focus in the things, the small things that make you happy. A better car, a bigger house is not gonna make a difference if you're not happy, you know? As I try to spend my money in the things that put a smile on me or in someone else, you know? That's what I was telling you, that I can't quit, you know, because every time that you bring people here and they learn something new, and they go with smile, or they go away changing something in their behavior to make things better for the crew, for the project, that's what it makes me happy, you know, and that's what is gonna keep me coming and doing it, you know. That's why I still do the conferences and the presentations and everything, even that we have people that can do it. The same reason I never stop guiding my own tours, because that's what it makes me happy, you know, showing something to people that it changed their lives, or showing there is a different way of living your life, you know, because people used to come to the dive shop and say, oh, you're really lucky that you live here and you can do this. And I always answer the same way. You can do the same thing. You can quit your job like I did, figure it out, eat rice and beans, or in Argentina, our version of rice and beans is fideos con manteca. It's like, and then you can figure it out. Live in like a shitty place, you know, and figure it out, and you can do this for yourself, you know. You can enjoy this not only in vacations. You can change your life. It doesn't matter what you're quitting, you know. I quit a bunch of things. I'm super happy. I'm way happier than before. That's would be the best advice and thing that I take from these kind of things.
Yeah.
It's always time for a change of a scenery, you know. My mom and my dad, they are both lawyers, but they went to the university when they were in their 60s and the 50s. They become lawyers. My dad in the 65 years old, 68 years old. My mom in the 50-something. They're really successful. Now they have money. We were really poor before, but now they changed their way of living. They improved, and now they have a bunch of things that they're doing things that they couldn't do before. And I take a lot of things from that too.
And is there someone who's kind of been there with you along this journey every step of the way?
Sorry?
Is there someone who's been along doing this journey with you, you know, every step of the way?
Yes. My wife, Laura, my wife, my partner in every business that we try to do, in the laboratory, in conservation, in business, or whatever. Yeah, you can't do it without someone that is support you 100%, you know, and stop you to do stupid things too, you know, because they have a bunch of those. You need someone that you can come back and run your idea, see if it's, you know, good or not. You need someone say, no, I mean, you know, that's too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be, for me, it's my wife. For other people, it can be partners in a business or whatever, you know, is listen to everyone. And then if you think you still have to do it, you know, because that's the only way that you learn, you know. My first instructor and my first boss on the business of diving and tourism, he always told me on this way. Say, when you screw up, that's where you learn. You can't learn from someone else's screw-ups, you know? You need to use your own. That's the only way you're going to have to deal with the consequences and all the things that comes with a failure, you know? Because I think it's not, people say I don't fail, you know, or I don't like to fail. It's because they are not trying enough. You know, if you don't try and fail, you know, you never achieve anything, you know? It's like the same that were applied to my business before diving is I always were able to take everyone diving, even the ones that were really afraid of diving. Why? Because for me, like a brave person is not the one that doesn't feel fears, you know? Mm-hmm. Like a brave person is like one that is afraid and he does it anyway.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter, you know, if you fail or not. Because if you take your life and your business, your career, or your diving experience like that, you know, I guarantee that you, in some level, you're gonna have a success.
Yeah. So, before we sign off of here, where can we find you online? If people would like to help out, donate, volunteer, where can we find all that information?
Yeah, we, Costa Rica Coral Restoration, I have a webpage, CostaRicaCoralRestoration.com or coraltico.com. We have Instagram, you can follow us on Instagram. And all the information is in the website for donations in the country or outside of the country. If you're in the United States and you want to write off your taxes, you can donate through the website too. We have a partnership with Amigos de Costa Rica, that is a big organization in the United States to help different organizations in Costa Rica with donations and things like that. So we're ready to receive donations like that. Contact us on any questions that you guys have, or if you're going to get involved for volunteering, for of course, giving us money, that will always open to that. And but mostly for showing your interest, you know, that helps a lot. Sharing what we do, showing our website to someone that it can give us a hand, you know, that always helps.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for having us. And,
no, thank you.
Look forward to coming down here again.
Awesome. Anytime.
Thank you for watching this episode of Bizpirations. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you're ready when the next episode comes out in 2 weeks. We'll see you then.